bring together. So any social animal, some level, that kind of sort of sense of community there. That's the basis of their survival. However, a lot of problems which we created, our own creation, including religious faith. Suppose religion bring inner peace. So all religion is emphasis, importance of love, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. However, the religion also becoming one factor, divide people. And then worst case, killing. Now these days, India I think much better. I never heard, you see, like Shia and Sunni. In this country, we never heard killing Shia and Sunni. Next, our neighbor, Afghanistan, Syria, and these Muslim countries. It's a follower of same God, Allah, same Quran, every day, 5 times prayer, yet killing each other. It is unthinkable, really. The killing due to political power or economic interest, some way understandable. In the name of religion, killing each other, unthinkable. But in fact, it's happening. So now these things, we too much emphasis on differences. Differences, secondary level. Different nation, nationality, different religion, different color, within same community, gap, rich and poor. All these, with too much emphasis on secondary level of differences. So logically, many problems due to with too much emphasis on secondary level of differences. Now the only method is go deeper level, fundamental level, we are same human being. So I really feel we really need a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Now sufficient reasons, mentally, emotionally, physically, 7 billion human beings are same. No differences. Sometimes, as I think concerned people deliberately create some sort of some differences. For example, one occasion I was in South Africa, Soweto town, and I visited one local black African family. And one person, he introduced himself as a teacher. That was soon after the democratized South Africa. So then I told, you already now achieved democratic constitution. But the important is your own mental level should develop. So white people, black people are equal. So you should keep enthusiasm to rebuild your nation. When I mentioned that person, Black African, as a teacher, he, with low voice, he told me, we black people, we are inferior. We cannot match with white people. I really shocked. And I argue with him, no. If we go to hospital, brain specialist, if you ask any differences of human brain due to color, definitely they say no differences. So I argue with him, argue. Then at last he, with long sighs, with a long sigh, long sigh, and he responded, yes, now he convinced we are same brain. So sometimes I think due to certain reasons, due to narrow-mindedness, and try to make some differences, even biological factor. That's totally wrong. So, 7 billion human beings, physically same, emotionally same, mentally all same. So therefore, I always say, start brothers, sisters. And for me, that also quite easy, just to say brothers, sisters. Otherwise, to see a different name, even pronunciation difficult. So much better, just say brothers, sisters. So now my number one commitment is try to promote sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. The second, my responsibility, my commitment is try to promote religious harmony. In that respect, I always mention India. Over 3,000, 4,000 years, different religious traditions already developed in this country. So this I describe homegrown different religious tradition. Sankhyaism, Jainism, then Buddhism, and some other traditions. These are homegrown religious traditions. In modern time or later, Sikhism. All these religions are homegrown religion. Then about 2,000 years ago, the Judaism came, Christianity came, Islam came. I think before that, Zoroastrianism from ancient Parsi came. So these come from outside, but all settled very peacefully, very harmonious way. Some little complaint from here and there, maybe. But basically, I think India is the only nation where all major world religious traditions live together. So then, India, not a small country, very big country, over 1 billion populated nation, but religious tolerance, religious harmony, there. So therefore, religious harmony is very possible. So I always say, mention India is the example. Religions, different traditions can live together. This is my second commitment. The third commitment, I am Tibetan. The Tibetan people trusted me. So therefore, I have moral responsibility. But Tibetan sort of political responsibility, temporal responsibility is concerned now. Since 2001, we already achieved elected political leadership. Then, 2011, the 2001 semi-retired position. Then, 2011, totally, retired from political responsibility. There are some reasons. Firstly, I believe in Tibetan history, including Dalai Lama institution, becomes something important. And eventually, political power also hold. That's a sign of a feudal system, outdated. Since my childhood, I noticed the Tibetan regent, after third Dalai Lama died, there's some regent there. So, I always heard complaint from people, not official. Official, when I ask, they say, okay, like that. Then sweeper, he's very innocent. So when I ask, they all complain, to sort of express to me. So since my childhood, I already know the Tibetan government system is backward. There's a lot of mistake there, all due to all power in the hands of few people. So since my childhood, I really love democratic system. So soon after, I took the responsibility, political responsibility, 1950, 51. Then I think around 52 or 53, I set up reform committee, start some change, some reform, but not very successful, because Chinese officials, they want reform according to their own way. So if Tibetan carry some reform work, it's naturally more suitable, so that might be hindrance for their own way of reform. So not success. Then, 54, I went to China. Then 56, came to India. And then soon after, crisis happened, start. Then 59, escaped, become refugee. And as soon as we reach India, our own sort of cabinet, sort of ministers, some group, we already start some change. And then I think early 60, maybe early 60, at Buddhagaya, some leaders of different sort of community come there. So then we start the appointment of people's representative, Chidu, like that. So we at once we start work for democratization. as I mentioned earlier. Then, eventually, I myself retired, like that. So, elected political leadership, now here, so wonderful. During election, more criticism also there. That is part of a democratic system, isn't it? Like that. So then, you see, I carry the main sort of my responsibility is preservation of Tibetan culture, including Tibetan language. And more important, those subjects which brought by one of Nalanda master, Shanda Rakshita, from Nalanda tradition. That means sort of very complicated philosophical views, and then logic, because Nalanda tradition, you see, we consider importance of investigation, analyze, and experiment, not faith. Buddha himself, you see, expressed, "Oh, my follower should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So I think some unique thing, some Nalanda master like Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti, they rejected some Buddha's own statement. They say, if you accept this Buddha's teaching literally, it goes against reason. Therefore, we must reject. Buddha taught that under different circumstances, different audience. Otherwise, we cannot accept literally. That's quite, I think, unique. So, Nalanda tradition very much emphasizes reasoning, experiment. So, logic, very important, pramana. Many Nalanda masters, when they explain philosophy or some other subject, they always use reason, logical approach. So Shanda Rakshita himself wrote about philosophy, one text which we study. Madhyamaka
Alankara. Madhyamaka Alankara.
Madhyamaka Alankara. His own writing, we study still. And then logic.
Tatu Samgraha.
So, about logic, his own writing. So he introduced the Nalanda tradition. So emphasis reason, logical approach. Therefore, over 1,000 years, you see, Tibetan, we carry faithfully the instruction of Shanda Rakshita. And later, one top, his sort of disciple, Kamalashila, also invited to Tibet. He also wrote some books. So these we study. So therefore, the Buddhist way of approach is reasoning, investigation, not just a faith. So therefore, since I think more than 30 years, I have serious discussion with modern scientists, mainly 4 fields: cosmology, neurobiology, physics, particularly quantum physics, then psychology. After sort of now a few decades of sort of discussion in these fields, it became very clear, mutual benefit. We also learn some useful information from scientists. Only casualty is now we no longer believe Mount Meru. That's no problem. So otherwise it's the true truth, Four Noble Truth. All these major sort of teaching, I think we can go side by side with the modern scientists. And particularly quantum physics, we know much better than quantum physicists. Also the psychology. So therefore, they also learn very, very useful the information about mind, about also the complicated philosophical views, these things. So now these days, some Chinese universities, some professor who can have the opportunity to read some of book which we publish here in India. So some Chinese scholars, they describe Tibetan Buddhism is true lineage of Nalanda tradition. That religion, very much scientific religion. Now some of them, they say like that. So I feel preservation of this knowledge is not only interest for 6 million Tibetan people, but I think logic and psychology, these things, I think entire 7 billion human beings, relevant to this knowledge. So my main commitment is preservation of this knowledge. Inside Tibet, a lot of difficulties, a lot of restrictions. But here in India, free country, among refugees, large number of students on this subject. So, with the help of government of India, mainly Jawaharlal Nehru's sort of initiative, we now, over a few decades, nearly 60 years, we re-establish this learning center. So you see, people study continuously. So, and then for this subject, the description of this subject, Tibetan language is the best. Because before Buddhism came to Tibet, mainly 8th century, Shantara Rishida reached Tibet, and he once started translation. So then, before that, Tibetan language, very primitive way, primitive. Then, while translation going on, you see, new word,
coined, invented.
Invented. So now today, Tibetan language is the most closest language with Sanskrit. So Sanskrit, a few scholars can speak, otherwise that language. So modern Hindi, no hope. English, of course, no hope. Chinese also difficult. You see, the Chinese, the ancient word nowadays not used. So some complication there. So now, according to my own experience, it is very clear. The best way to explain precisely this difficult subject, Tibetan word, Tibetan language is the best language. So therefore, preservation of Tibetan language, one of my commitment, it is something very important, very useful. So preservation of Tibetan knowledge, which come from Nalanda, and including mainly this knowledge, is not only interest for 6 million Tibetan people, but immediately large number of Chinese Buddhists now in China. A few years ago, you see, one Peking University carried survey how many Buddhists there are. Then they found more than 300 million Buddhists. And that report also mentioned many of these Chinese Buddhists are better educated people, more educated people. It mentioned. Now, since then, Buddhist population much increased. So now, these days, about nearly 400 million Buddhists in China. So the preservation of these authentic sort of knowledge from Nalanda, which we preserved, is really useful. Millions of those Chinese Buddhists. And then Japan, Buddhist country. They are also the follower of Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition. Since I have been in Japan a number of times, so one scholar, one Japanese monk, scholar, when we say Japanese monk, not a celibate, with wife. So he once told me, we Japanese Buddhists, see, we always recite the Heart Sutra. Kasa Pranjaparamita Shindaya. We always recite that, but we do not know what's the meaning. That he told me, since we become very close friends, so he told me my explanation about the Pranjaparamita Sutra. They found very useful, like that. So like Gate, Gate, Parangate, Parasamgate, Buddhisa. You see, these very condensed way.
Condensed now.
Condensed. So the preservation of our knowledge, which introduced by Shantarakshita and Kamalashila, seems, I think, very useful for all those Buddhist countries which follow Sanskrit tradition. Okay. Like that. And then environment, Tibetan environment. Tibet, as people describe, roof of the world. And Tibetan Plato, one Chinese ecologist, he wrote an article. He mentioned Tibetan Plateau, the effect, the global warming from Tibetan Plateau is as much as South Pole, North Pole. So he described Tibetan Plateau as third pole. So obviously, I think you Indian, I don't know whether South Indian, your life depends Tibetan river or not, I don't know. But at least, you see, northern India, the Brahmaputra, and then into China, the Mekong River, and China itself, Yellow River, and then
Indus.
Indus River. Indus River in Pakistan, and Ganges, and all these rivers, which cover whole northern India, come from Tibet. So the other day I mentioned jokingly, we Tibetan are supplier of water to India. So this is quite serious now. Just when I coming here, one group is who dedicated about ecology. I mentioned now global warming truly now become very serious. So after one decade, after 1 century, I think the most of Himalayan mountain, snow mountain, may disappear. And similarly, inside Tibet also, due to global warming, now there's real danger. So eventually, I think water problem, I think truly become very, very correct. What is that? Okay. So, one biscuit. Only one. Okay. Only that. Oh, delicious. As a practitioner of Tantrayana, too many visualization. So here you also can visualize having one biscuit. So my commitment, preservation of ecology in Tibet, very important. Now Chinese government also showing sense of concern, preservation of Tibetan ecology. It's very good, very good. Subject subject.
Courage and compassion in 21st century.
Oh, here already has some biscuit. Then, my latest fourth commitment is, since I notice these are knowledge which come from Nalanda tradition, become something useful and relevant. Therefore, now the fourth commitment is drugs. So peace must develop within our own mind, and these methods strengthening so that peace of mind always maintain in your mind. So this India's tradition, shamatha, vipassana, before Buddha come, already these sort of method, how to tackle our emotion, already developed in this country. So Buddha himself, product of this Indian tradition. So therefore, these ancient Indian sort of knowledge, how to tackle our emotion, how to keep peace of mind. Traditionally come from religious text. Now we should consider these are academic subject for healthy mind. These days I telling hygiene of physical, very important, but more important is hygiene of emotion. In that respect, only India's tradition have the sort of say, the material or ability to tackle peace of mind. So therefore, now modern India, it is quite a pity. You see, they not much pay attention about this ancient your knowledge. Now, time come. This ancient Indian knowledge, the must revival in this country, strictly secular way, so that non-believers and believe in this religion, that religion, doesn't matter. So long this human emotion there, human brain there, so this ancient Indian knowledge, how to tackle emotion, is something related with everybody. Firstly, revive in this country. And then, I'm quite sure, China, as I mentioned earlier, number of Buddhists there, they will sort of also they will show interest about the combination of modern education and ancient Indian knowledge about our mind, combine these two things through education, not through ritual, not through prayer. And then certainly Japan, Vietnam, Korea, these traditionally follow of Sanskrit tradition, I think will copy once here we introduce. In the past, Buddhism, Nalanda, here. And then these whole Asia used to follow Buddha Dharma, Indian tradition, like that. So now modern India, I think, can serve millions of people, firstly, in Asian continent. Then European, Middle East, also you see, will pay noticeable attention. So, as I mentioned earlier, many scientists are really showing, and some scientists actually practice using these ancient Indian also their method to bring inner peace. So that's my fourth commitment. So I don't know. Now my age, 83, perhaps next 10 years, up to 93, I may carry some work. After that, too old. So here, a few hundred people here, please keep in your mind this commitment. Firstly, as one human being, try to promote sense of oneness of human being. Second, religious harmony, you already hear, very good. Now further promote these things and show other sort of area. Recently I was in Nepal, Ladakh. I have very good relation with the Ladakhi Muslim. So I suggested to them, here in Ladakh, say, religious harmony, very good. And as I mentioned earlier, India in general, also you see, I never heard a problem between Shia and Sunni. Then, Ladakhi Muslim should take some initiative, some meeting in Delhi, national level. Many plain Muslim also should participate and then discuss harmony among the Shia and the Sunni. Then gradually can invite some Muslim from like Afghanistan, our neighbor, and some other Muslim country. Let them see religious harmony is possible. And particularly Shia and Sunni, you see, no basis for sort of killing each other. So they agree. I suggested, it is quite wrong. We just kept within our own community religious harmony and remain ignore what happened at other human places. So now, the Indian Muslim, I think, should India, I think, should organize international religious conference. If government, you see, send an invitation, then most of the religious leaders certainly come. Then show the world religious harmony is possible. We should make effort to promote religious harmony. India is the example, like that. So whether that materializes or not, I don't know. But at least my Muslim friend, I suggested, they agree. So within the next few months, I think they may start some work. Not in Bangalore, but in Delhi. So I think now time come, India really preserve this religious harmony. Now time come to show outside the world religious harmony is very possible. And make effort step by step. Like that. So now, Kasar, the real topic?
Courage and compassion in the 21st century.
Courage and compassion. Very sort of related. Courage, as briefly I think mentioned, courage, self-confidence, important. Self-confidence, if you carry your life honestly, truthfully, then you can carry your work transparently. So therefore, you have nothing to hide. Always truthful, transparent. So that is the basis of courage. if you have some sort of different motivation, then courage is very difficult. With, say, the negative emotion, courage is more dangerous. So courage and compassion, very close link, very close link. Like that. So all these knowledge, how to develop, we simply learn from you, from India, ancient Indian. So now, you should pay more attention as your own kasoda, treasure, your own treasure. I think modern India, you have education system that is so-called modern education, very much oriented about material value. So whole generation who come through that kind of education then create some kind of materialistic life, materialistic society, materialistic culture. So when people who live in such thing, when some emotional problem come, then very difficult to tackle. So Indian education system, I think, should include, as I mentioned earlier, ancient Indian education, how to tackle our emotion, like that. Yoga practice, as a build, very helpful to healthy body. I think with healthy body, very strong body, too much anger, very dangerous. So we pay also the physical health. Equally, we should pay the healthy mind. That's very important. Okay. Now scientists also, they say, constant anger, constant fear is actually eating our immune system. So, the other hand, more calm mind, more compassionate mind, very good for our health, they say. So that I think my main topic. Still a few minutes. So I would like to take some question. And of course, there's a further discussion afternoon also. You see. Now some question, yes.
For all of you, the mic stand is right here. So if you have a question, kindly walk up to this mic with your questions. We request you to keep it relevant to what His Holiness has spoken about and keep your questions short so we can take as many as possible.
And I would like to have some argument. then I want to show you how my mind, through training of logical approach, critical, sort of the critical analysis.
As a teacher and a soon-to-be mother, I'm very committed and interested in the teaching and flourishing of compassion. And so you were talking a little bit about fear and strong body, but I would love to know what other things that you think are, that children and young people need to be taught and need to see in order for compassion to flourish.
The subject, compassion, teach student. This is not like other subject, mathematics or geography or so on. These you can just, you see, teach, explain. But teaching compassion, I think your physical sort of attitude. Teachers themselves should keep the sense of concern of students' well-being, not only day to day, few years, no, whole life. You see, more happy life, successful life. Teacher should keep in your mind responsibility, whole life. And then accordingly show this is from your practical sort of practical level, and then mention the warm-heartedness is very, very important part of our life. So we already start some work as to how to introduce in modern India in education field some of these ancient. We already, there are a few occasions, some scholars, some sort of discussions. So eventually, I think we can produce some curriculum, some books. Thank you. So teacher, very, very important.
His Holiness.
Thank you too much.
I have heard about a lot of stories of the time when you moved from Tibet to India, that there was some sort of mist in the mountains, and because of that you could not be, caught by whichever people were trying to stop you from coming out of Tibet. Now, I personally believe that nature does not have any regard for one life form or other. For them, for the nature, humans and all kind of insects and animals are all the same. But I would like to hear your own experience of that moment when you moved from Tibet to India. Thank you.
I think similar. The very night when I left from Summer Palace, so-called Summer Palace, Nobulinga, so less cloud, so moon quite clear, so it is more dangerous. Just yesterday, we come along Lhasa Kichu River. After we cross, then that side, then this side, Chinese military establishment there. So we can see Chinese soldier there. So we, at that time, we wish some cloudy, then you see moonlight less. So if we believe God, God unkind that night.
Hi. So you talk about Shias and Sunnis trying to kill each other all the time, and India being very religiously, you said that harmony is very good, the harmony here. But Hindus and Muslims are ready to kill each other all the time, and it's only getting worse. So what do you have to say about that?
Oh, generally, you see, Hindu, Muslim, I think generally, not serious sort of problem. I don't think. In Ladakh, Buddhist, Muslim, no problem. Occasionally some problem. Recently, in Sanskar, there are some problem. I made some effort, create some small committee to reduce that sort of conflict, like that. So then both sides, I think, very happily listen my suggestion. Basically, good relation. So I think Hindu, Christian, Muslim, I think generally, very good. People not much pay attention, conflict. So I think And sometimes politicians, you see, manipulate something. That I think we should, I think public, I think knows some sort of political reason, some sort of, what's it, incidents there. No. Incidents. Otherwise, I think over billion Indian people, I think several thousand Muslims, several thousand Christians, several thousand Hindus, and then to some extent, I think less number Jain, and much less number Buddhist. I think usually, very sort of sound, I feel. But still, we need some kind of clear recognition. Religious harmony is something treasure of India. That I think we should, you should increase deeper awareness, importance of that, I feel. Next question.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I'm placing my pranams to his lotus feet of 14th Dalai Lama. I'm a teacher by profession. My question to you is very one thing. Can you give me one mantra which I should preach to my students when they are seeing so much chaos in this world?
There are many different kind of mantra. Some mantra, I think more than 100 sort of words. No. I think too much. I think student, I usually, suggest one mantra. Now here, the Saraswati. And a kind of sort of the god of, or Deva of wisdom, Manjushri. Om Arabasa Nadi. Just 6 words. Om Arabasa Nadi. That I think, I also since childhood, I always recite that. And occasionally some retreat. Of course, you say, I cannot say something, Kasota, great, but my own experience, when I start the recitation of this mantra, Om Arabasa Nadi, with certain visualization, within 1 week, my sharpness of mind increase. So it is quite good. So you understand now. Om Arabasa Nadi. Om Arabasa Nadi. Okay. Next question.
Namaste. I have 2 questions. Question number 1 is, surprising that we don't have any literature to shed light on ancient Tibet-Indian relations so far. Even on ancient Indian-Tibet relations. There is no literature which is available online or any book in print.
What?
And
the second question is Buddhism built on hatred towards Hinduism?
Sorry.
You wanted argument, so is Buddhism built on hatred towards Hinduism?
I think first part, as I mentioned earlier, before one great Tibetan scholar, I think around 14th century, that Tibetan scholar expressed, till light of India reached Tibet, in spite land of snow, white, bright, but still dark. After light from India reached Tibet, then Tibet became bright. So I think before Buddha Dharma reached Tibet, mainly I think 8th century. Even if you interest about Buddha Dharma, I think 7th century, one Tibetan emperor. Although he married with Chinese princess. And then I think influence about Buddhism, Tibet, I think reached through that way. But then the same king, 7th century, he developed Tibetan sort of more authentic Tibetan writing, Tibetan script. You see, developed copy from Devanagari, not Chinese, but Indian script. That's 7th century. Then 8th century, Tibetan emperor, you see, determined to bring Buddha Dharma from Nalanda directly. So he invited Chandarakshita, then later Kamalashila. Since then, number of Tibetan translators visit India. Mainly, I think in Takshashila, maybe some. Then mainly Nalanda. Then Brikamalashila, Brikamalashila. So then you see Tibetan civilization, I think much developed. So Tibetan civilization, I think we can say product of Indian Kasoda, culture order, Indian civilization, like that. Then Hinduism and Buddhism. Buddhism, Hinduism, the practice of Shila, practice of, correct, what is that? Hot water, oh, okay, no, okay. Thank you. The practice of Shila, same. Practice of Shamatha, same. Practice of Vipassana, generally same. The differences, concept of Atma and Anatma. So some time back in Bangalore, I think Bangalore. One was the Indian sadhus. He very much sort of dedicated for education. The poorer section of children. Wonderful. So one time he invited me, go there, and we discussed. I mentioned to him the 3 training, Shila, Shamatha, Pranja, we are same. The difference is Atma and Anatma. Then I told him, the Atma and Anatma is private business. I believe Anatma, you believe Atma, so no problem. Otherwise, logic, these most cases, I think, quite similar. Okay.
Just one comment before my question. I always talk to friends about you, and I say, His Holiness laughs like a joyful child. And then I say, probably he wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and meditates for a few hours. My question, reflection is that we have to be careful in many parts of the world that religions don't tear societies apart. Religion, on the one hand, has compassion, love, kindness, but it can also irrationally project conflict and hatred. So when we talk about religion, we must be critical. And where there is no compassion, there can be no religion.
That's right. That's true. I always was telling, religion of human being. We human being very much appreciate love, loving kindness, because as soon as we born, mother show us affection, love. So this is biological, nothing to do with religion. Other social animal also, when one of their member suffer or dying, they licking. So some kind of closeness feeling. Because our very existence depends on community. So therefore, all these religions are human beings' religion. Therefore, all carry the message of basic human value. That's human love, like that. Then, in order to strengthening that, use different philosophical views. Some say there is God, creator, like Sankhya philosophy, Jain philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, no concept of God, creator, but rather self-creation. According to theistic religion, you see, we all created by God. God like our Father. What kind of Father? Infinite love. Very powerful. We all children of that kind of Father. So if you seriously think, believe that, no way to kill each other. We all children of one Father, one God. That God also is infinite love. So wonderful. Then the non-theistic religious tradition, you are your own master. So future of your life depend on yourself. So you should behave well. That's now theory of karma, good karma, committed to good karma, or you get benefit. Bad karma brings suffering. So good karma, bad karma, the real demarcation is any action which brings some happiness, some pleasure to other, that's good karma. Any action brings fear, distrust, and unhappiness, that's bad karma. So this, so all these different philosophy, different tradition, same aim to strengthening basic human value, that's human love. So wonderful. I never state Buddhism is best. Because, you see, like medicine, you pick one medicine, you pick up one medicine, and you cannot say this medicine is best. To some patient, this medicine good. To some patient, this medicine very harmful. So like that, the different philosophical view according to different mental disposition. To some philosophical view, like creator, concept of creator, very helpful. To some people, self-creation is much more effective. So that depends on individual mental disposition. So that shows we human beings, over, I think, 3,000 years, we really create different sort of way of approach to promote this inner value, particularly in this country. Just this morning, one my audience, I mentioned, I'm wondering why among the Egyptian civilization, Chinese civilization, the Indus Valley civilization, this civilization eventually produced most great thinkers. Why? I don't know. I think God, if we accept Creator, then Creator must be equal, Egyptian or Chinese or Indus Valley. But that's why Indus Valleys, you see, produce most thinkers, very brilliant people develop here. I think Indian dals, Indian chapati, I think not much make differences. But these days, I'm a son of India. Why? This physical survived with Indian dals, Indian chapati. Then this mind filled by Nalanda thought. So therefore, I'm Indian. I'm son of India. Yes, next question.
How can you always be happy from within?
Kasa. I think our mental attitude, when we face some problem, usually, you see, brings some sadness, irritation, worry, and anger. So when we face some problem, analyze that problem. You see, the reaction from our emotion should not come emotion without any reason, just spontaneous. For example, something negative things happen, immediately develop anger. Then your mind, little cool down. After some time, same person, same problem, still there, but they feel, oh, I made. So then you see, feel useless, anger. Without anger, we can tackle the problem more effectively. Because anger develops no possibility to utilize human intelligence properly. Anger comes, your view becomes much biased. With biased sort of mental attitude, difficult to see the reality. So as you're thinking this line, then you will realize anger is not only destroy peace of mind, moment, but also you see destroy our ability to judge what's right, what's wrong, and what's the reality. So some Tibetan officials, when I was young, some officials, when they really get anger, then they smile. So at that time, people say, now that official really lost his anger. Much smile. So calm. And then think, what's the way to hit most? Like that. Then, so therefore, the young questioner, you see, when you lose anger, not immediately express, but think more. Try to calm. Okay.
His Holiness, first of all, I must say this, that from the bottom of my heart, I love you.
Karsa.
I love you so much. I love you so much. Same thing like our
So are you?
Yeah, Kabuyus.
Thank you.
So, for me, I see a lot of hatred around me, and it becomes harder and harder to have the inner strength to show love in front of this hatred. What can I do?
hidden website.
Long.
As far as I know, one was a text which wrote by one Nalendra master, I think 8th century, people say 8th century, Shantadewa. Of course, we have no special connection, but his teaching, his book, I think since 8th century, I think that book remained best book, how to deal our anger and how to deal selfish narrow-mindedness. So now it is quite available. So you can buy Karsajoti. In original Sanskrit, also there. Then English translation, modern Hindi translation, Chinese translation, already there. So, and Vietnamese also, I think, pretty already. And Japanese translation also now coming. So that book, I received that oral transmission of that book, Kazirgo, I think 67. One Indian origin master, Kunula Marmuchi, Tenzin Yanze. Then he also advised me I should give teaching people. That book will be very useful. So I carry his advice till now. So that book, 10th chapter, the 6th chapter mainly explain how harmful about anger and how to develop patience, tolerance. Very useful. Then 9th chapter, 8th chapter, you see, dealing with self-centered, narrow-minded selfishness. So anger, narrow-minded, selfish go together, side by side. So you see the antidote, how to take anger and how to take self-centered attitude. It's very, very useful. I read this book quite often and also teach other people. Wonderful. Then these are common, whether believe Atma or Anatma, doesn't matter. Believe God or godless or Kasota, non-believer, same. So we can take these secular way. So very good, very useful. So you read that.
The
Thank
name
you.
of the book, Holiness, I didn't get the name of the book and the author.
The copy. You will get
copy, maybe.
one copy from him.
It's called Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life.
Okay. Did test it. Yes, next question.
No.
No.
You're
0. I think you will get
no.
later or tomorrow. Yes, next question.
Dalai Lama-ji, namaskar.
Thank you.
The connection of Hindus with the Guru is something different than the Buddhists feel it, but I don't see it different because I don't see difference in emptiness and Nirgun Nirakar. We say God is without any attributes and without any form, and He's just a presence. So the clear state and presence is same. So I don't know why people find difference. And last time when I met you, I think personally, not personally, you touched my head and I was like so happy about it. And it was a Hayagriva puja, and you said you had 4 things that you wanted to do. One was to establish the Dharma, other was to establish Dharma in West. And then third thing, I don't remember, the fourth thing was re-establishing Buddhism in India. I think I have one of the best analytical machines here, and I'm a devout Hindu, but there's a lot of noise. So I can devote myself to this path. If you help me, I can devote. I will my rest of life.
Thank you.
If you think I'm a candidate, or I might have to pick myself first, that's also possible, then I can't do much to others. And I was born in Kashmir. So one second. Being a Kashmiri Hindu, like you, like Buddhists, you have to leave your place. So we also have to leave your place, you probably know. And I got auto-initiated into Kashmiri Shaivism. It has something to do with Vajrayana. I had some out-of-body experiences. I have studied engineering and physics, so please let me finish it. And Dalai Lama-ji, I just want to, there's a strong connection with your script also. First time I saw Tibetan script, I had some kind of divine orgasm with myself because I heard it has a inspiration from Sharda, that's the original Kashmiri script, and it's gone now. We don't write it in Sharda anymore.
Your question,
and the
please?
Kala Chakra was given by some Kashmiri people. Now thing is our culture is totally gone. So the younger generation, they are westernized, or they become Punjabi, or they become the Telugu. So we are the few people who have still that, please, seed in our heart. So I request you that if it's possible that you create some cultural thing for Kashmiri Pandits, because we are suffering, like there are refugee camps for us, and there are very excellent Buddhist gurus in my family also. They don't recognize, but I see that Buddhist presence in them. So our culture is already under its last phase, which will die, 5,000 years of culture. So I request yourself that if it is possible, some kind of cultural exchange for Kashmiri Pandits who have that seed in them, so it will help us to revive the same lineage that was taken to Tibet, give us back. Or if you think I somehow can help them, I just want to devote to myself right away.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
So if it is possible to help me, if you think, please let me know.
Yeah.
Please keep contact. We already have some institution. Firstly, at Sarnath, no, and also in Dharamsala area also. So we can keep contact. Okay. Thank you. But when I say revival of ancient Indian thought, not Buddhism, something common, Buddhism, Hindu, Jain, and all these traditions about psychology, about logic. So that part I'm trying to revive, not religion. Okay.
I'm a scientist. Please ask me.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Buddhist not because I love Buddhism, because I need it.
Quran engineer that
Okay. Keep contact. Okay.
Thank you.
His Holiness, Pranam. Could you please share how we can work towards prevention of ecology? Initiatives at the global level are doing no good.
And the Quran it's Koyu Sunjok that he told her. Koyu Sunjok told her, she gave me say, Conchat and Denai, and us, the things on Zamulina, Gigi, Chims, the Mangus to the Pendomintus.
So ecology.
No.
Wonderful. Now you are the future of India. I usually make a distinction, generation of 20th century and generation of 21st century. I belong to the generation of 20th century. Within 20th century, I think there are much change, positive change. in the early part of 20th century, so war is something normal. First World War, Second World War, Vietnam War, Korean War. Then eventually, you see people now develop genuine desire for peace. And the European Union started. All these, and during Cold War, coexistence concept, all these new development. Not like early part of 20th century. Later part of the century, I think much change. Then ecology. The later part of 20th century, I think people really now paying more attention about ecology. So now you are the generation of 21st century. So if your generation start work with vision, more wider perspective, then you can see after 30 years, 40 years, something different world possible. So now, that kind of new world we cannot see. But it is our responsibility, since we not witness the previous century, how many destruction, how many killing. Some historians say in 20th century, number of people who kill through violence, about 200 millions. So still, in human mind, still the 20th century's sort of mentality. Whenever we see some disagreement, immediately think how to face that by force. That old thing, that outdated. Now this century, your century now should be century of peace, century of dialogue. I usually describe 21st century should be century of dialogue. Whatever we find some disagreement, through talk, not use weapon. So this 21st century, eventually, we should think, you should think more seriously how to demilitarize this world. And in order to external disarmament, firstly, internal disarmament, very important, through education, through knowledge. So you have, great opportunity, great responsibility, and you will enjoy new world, much more peaceful, happy, compassionate world. Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Holiness. Namaskara. My question is essentially the following. Ethics, courage, and conviction to always do the right thing is at many times missing when we go back to office on Monday, right? Whether it's our...
Now I think important is holistic. Just, you see, think from one angle, and because too close, then it appears something unbearable and difficult. So that brings discouragement. In Kasa, discouraged, pessimistic. So same problem. Look from wider angle. Look from 3 dimensions. 4 dimension, 6 dimension, then still you see there a problem there, but looking from different angle, then that not so bad. Okay.
True.
So then think, analyze that sort of say the sad thing, analyze that sad thing through your own effort. It can overcome. Then no use too much kasoda, too much worry. Keep enthusiasm. Make effort to overcome that. If you see that's problem to analyze, then almost impossible to overcome. Then don't think much. Relax. Or some big.
Thank you.
There's no use, too much sort of stress, too much sort of worry. Okay.
Thank you. Many of us here in Bangalore, we work at internet technology companies. And, we have Google here, Facebook, Uber. It's a hub for all of these companies. And sometimes I feel these companies bring people together, but sometimes there's also controversy. So I was wondering what you thought about these companies bringing together and promoting that sense of oneness for the 7 billion people you spoke about.
I don't know. I think since you involved, so you know better, analyze, more research work. And ultimately, I believe the technology controlled by human being. So we, if we sort of totally rely on technology, I think wrong. No matter how smart technology, I think it cannot match our brain, I feel. So still, you see, we should be controller of technology and use technology maximum way. Then I think physical level, distance, or these things, the technology, then, you see, very helpful. But ultimately, the controller, I think, more important.
Okay. Namaskar. My name is Dr. Prabha. I'm a professor at Christ College. 2 questions I have for you. The first one is, you asked us to visualize. It's so simple to think about visualization and the power of visualization, but why is it so difficult to visualize? That's my first question. My next question is, I see a lot of intolerance and impatience growing in people. How do we, kind of counter those kind of emotions so that we can reach the level of oneness, what we talk about, oneness in the human being, oneness in the religion and all those things? Just 2 questions for you. Thank you.
First part. I think that that's why practice of shamatha become important. Shamatha itself, nothing to do with religion. Simply, you see, they mobilize strength of our mind, single-pointed mind. Usually our mind very much sort of controlled or governed by sensorial consciousness. So the shamatha, vipassana, not sensorial level, but mental level. So we usually, even you see the Western psychologists, you see, not much pay attention about sixth mind. Then your really sharpening our mind. Like that. These two things are in any field, money matter or political matter, everywhere. You see, you can concentrate mindfulness, but then analyze. How can your opposition, how can to defeat? Analyze.
Thank you so much. Just a small, it's my first interaction with you, and you're lyrical to the ears, actually. Thank you so much.
Karsa. What? Thank you.
Namaste, Your Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. My name is Farish. My question to you is, given the large-scale poverty and lack of education and awareness in the country, what role can the government, especially the civil servant and the bureaucracy, do in spreading the message of compassion and courage to the masses?
Kaza. Chamze.
The Chamze di tone gyobutsul mi je ilbu nyamda mebsoya ta.
Yes, now here, even in the name of religion, caste system, very bad. Even among Buddhists, I notice in Ladakh, there's some discrimination. Buddha strongly sort of opposed that. We all equal, and practice is more important than caste background. So these are a social habit. I think I always feel or hoping the religious leader come out and talk. We all equal. Caste system is the feudal system. Some impact from the feudal system. The ruling group, in order to rule poor people, then they say, God creates your low caste. These, I think, outdated. So religious leader should come out. So spoke openly. That's very important. Then education, it takes time. Now, I already mentioned, we're already working. Recently, I was in a big conference, about 150 vice chancellor, national level. So there I mentioned the ancient and existing education system now should include some sort of ancient Indian knowledge. So response is very good. Now, concerned people, you see, carry some work, how to implement. So I think within 1 year, 2 years, I think some concrete plan may come. Then I think few school as a sort of pilot and start. And then we'll see the result. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Your Holiness, I love your smile and the way you laugh. It's just so endearing. It just lights up something in you. Just that one question that little girl also asked, but it was also in my mind. You know, that moment of anger, you said you just smile. But I know you should, but then, you know, that moment is a very difficult moment. Is there any other way to handle? I do my yoga, I do my little meditation, but that little one moment of anger really spoils that whole, you know.
I think like a physical condition. Your basic immune system, physical condition, good, strong. Then some virus will not disturb you much. When your physical condition weak, immune system like this, weak, then small amount of virus really create more problem. Similarly, basic mental attitude sound through training, through analytical meditation. Then, see, these angers and jealousy, these will not disturb much you. If basic your mental attitude weak, just knowledge here, no conviction. The knowledge, 3 levels. First level, through books, just learning. That, not much sort of effect. Then, the subject which we already know, then analyze by yourself. For example, the Buddhist philosophical books, you just rely on one book, then your conviction still superficial. Then read different books, different philosophical views, then analyze. Then you develop conviction. That affect our mind. Then those points which you fully convinced, then familiarize. Then third level of understanding come. Then really transform our mind. So these are not easy. I think Buddha himself, 6 years of the meditation. So Buddha himself spent 6 years. So we, no question.
But your Holiness, when you know that something's not right, even then you can just smile and leave it? Leave that situation, that something's not going right?
Now, mistake, part of our life. Sometimes mistake bring good experience. So firstly, mistake, you cannot avoid. Some mistake happen. Then once you realize, now this is mistake, then change. If necessary, apologize, like that. The other day, one might comment in Goa. So they, here, I apologize. Better. No need, no use, pretend. Okay, thank you.
Dalai Lama-ji, you have a sweet heart and a simple mind. We adore you. I would like to ask what Atma is in Buddhist terms.
Atma?
Is it?
So according to Buddhist treatises, Atma is defined as that which is permanent, unchanging, single or unitary, and autonomous entity.
But in Hinduism, they call Atma.
No. So if you, this from the Buddhist perspective, this is how it's
even
defined.
Hinduism says the same thing.
Yeah, so according to Buddhism, if Atma were to be permanent and unchanging, there's no change moment by moment.
What is ground store consciousness?
Ground store?
Consciousness?
Are you talking about Alaya Vijnana?
Yeah, Alaya Vijnana. That's what the Hindus call it Atma.
No, Hindu. Atma.
Yes, there are some similarities, but they...
No, according to Shankara, that's what he calls her.
According, you see, the Chitta Mantra, one part of Chitta Mantra, 8 minds mentioned. There are Kunshishego,
So within the Buddhist philosophical tradition, there is the Chittamatra philosophical school, which is the school which asserts this Alaya Vijnana. They actually count 8 different consciousnesses, and this is the 8th one.
So Madhyamika philosophy, they only 6 minds.
No, according to the Madhyamaka philosophical school, then this Alaya Vijnana, or storehouse consciousness, is rejected. They only assert 6 different consciousnesses.
Now the consciousness, the grosser level of consciousness, then more subtle level of consciousness, and very, very subtle level of consciousness. So in the 6th mind, not sensory level. Sensory level, go together with consciousness, sixth mind. But sixth mind which goes while sensorial consciousness still active, then that's a very, very grosser level of consciousness. Then dream state, dreaming, another little sort of deeper consciousness. Then without dream, deep sleep, another level of consciousness. Then at the time of faint, another deeper level of consciousness. Then the deepest consciousness at the time of dying. Blood circulation stop, then brain stop. Then there's still a deeper level, deepest level of consciousness still there. So what's the reason? Now there are cases, people who clinically dead, but still body remain very fresh, including my own teacher. He remained that state 13 days, and then some practitioner remain almost 3 weeks, remain like that. So clinically dead, but body still remain fresh. Why? The deepest level of consciousness still in the body. So now some scientists, like Richard Davidson, now some few years past, he already set up one project to specially investigate that case, like that. So that is the deepest level of consciousness. That we continue, through that way, easier connection, this life and previous life, and next life also. So you can call that consciousness Atma, okay, no problem. Huh? Karsa. Oh, Nirvana.
No.
Nirvana. Moksha. That's completely purified or eliminated in our mind ignorance. That's Nirvana. Not easy. But according to my own experience, I have full conviction of possibility of elimination all negative emotion, because all negative emotion based on ignorance. Ignorance have very powerful antidote, very powerful antidote, wisdom, which understand shunyata. So shunyata, we can explain. Now scientists also now, already you see quantum physics now mentioned that things does not exist as it appears. It appears there are something. But if we investigate, analyze, nothing there. So quantum physicists now said that. The Nagarjuna, Chantak, the Kasachuti, Chitta Mantra and Madhimika, both, you see, the same view. That's for antidote to grasping things exist objectively. So then, you see the attachment, hatred, all this come. Now some Chinese quantum physicists, they notice those people who fully convinced nothing exists as appears, then their mental state, emotional state, you see, kasara.
Swinging to the extremes. So these Chinese quantum physicists say that so those who are fully convinced that nothing exists objectively, I mean, for their reaction to us, things is not swinging to extremes.
So end of this year, we're going to have some conference with quantum physicists, including some Chinese quantum physicists. We're going to have some discussions like that. So these are, you see, they very valid.
So these are validly based on reason and knowledge.
The destructive emotion based on ignorance, no proper base. The opposite counterforce, that wisdom. Wisdom have solid basis. More analyzed, become clearer, clearer, clearer. So, and then ignorance is not part of our mind. Although no beginning.
So ignorance is not in the intrinsic nature of the mind.
So combine these two factors. Then I also get some kind of positive feeling or possibility of Nirodha, the Four Noble Truths, suffering and its causes, and because eliminate suffering. That's Nirodha. Nirodha, to achieve Nirodha through fourth, because mark. Like that, Four Noble Truths. That's the foundation of Buddha Dharma. Okay, now I think the time for lunch. Yes?
Our last question. I just have one question. What is the purpose of a life? I mean, we can work passionately, we can get married, we can volunteer selflessly, but how do we find what is the purpose of our life?
I think according to theistic religion, you should ask God. Karsa.
The God
So usually I sort of telling people, and also I believe, the purpose of our life is happiness, joyfulness. Where there's no guarantee about the future, but we live on hope. Hope means something good. So therefore, people who still have sort of hope, then their life live. Once totally lost hope, then worst case, suicide. Even just, you see, that thinking shorten your life. So therefore, the existence of our life very much depends on hope. Hope means something good. So therefore, purpose of our life, I feel happiness, joyfulness is the purpose of our life, whether believe next life or not, whether believe God or not. Like that. Okay.
Beloved, Your Holiness, for your boundless compassion and untiring efforts, a big thank you from all of us present here.
Thank you. Thank you. Now perhaps I think most of you again see you again tomorrow.
Yes. May I request?
And afternoon, some serious discussions.
May I request the Vana Foundation team to make a floral offering expressing their gratitude. A special thank you to Nishant and his team for the tireless effort and commitment of the past few weeks. Thank you, Team Vana, for making this possible for all of us Bangaloreans. May I request a representative from Manipal Education, our major donors, and Ms. Neelu Singh, our donor, to offer kathas to His Holiness. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you all, dear friends, for being with us and making this indeed an auspicious morning. Thank you.
Namaste, and thank you for sharing this lovely day with us. For those of you who would continue to be